Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a lot to cover and a lot to update you on. We've got some viewer comments from after yesterday's program. One is your tip of the week. One is a quote, from Karen. Karen's quote of the week. And we just have some random comments from after yesterday's show, but a lot of updates to get to in this first segment as well. Let's get right to viewer comments. Wow, that's going to be exciting to see John Boy after all these years and what he looks like now. Yes, we're going to be talking to John Boy Walton from the Waltons, Mr. Richard Thomas, who will be in our area at the Clemens Center October 14th and 15th. He is starring in the one-man show Mark Twain Tonight, made kind of famous by Hal Holbrook. We're going to talk to him about that. Another comment, you can add that one to your list now of interviews. It's amazing to me the people that you get to interview. We've been very lucky through the years on radio and television, the quality of guests that we have and the quality of viewers and listeners that we have. Continuing, let's go to the tip of the week. Use white vinegar to get odors out of your microwave. If your microwave is smelling less than fresh, there's a simple way to get it clean and odor-free without using harsh chemicals. Just place a bowl of vinegar in the microwave for around 5 minutes and simply wipe it clean afterwards. Or use white vinegar to get your surfaces streak-free. Make those spotty mirrors and windows a thing of the past by using white vinegar in place of your usual ammonia-based cleaning fluid. Making a quick solution from cold water and white vinegar, spray it on the area, and wipe it clean. There is your tip of the week in your home projects as you prepare to board up for winter. So thank you very much. Karen writes in, and Karen, I owe you an apology if you're tuning in. On my interview with Richard Thomas was pre-recorded. So your idea to ask him his favorite Mark Twain quote was a great question and one that I wish I would have thought of when I pre-recorded the interview. So I apologize. But Karen writes, my quote collection would not be complete without several items from the great Mark Twain. And here is Karen's favorite with the quote of the week from Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens. Quote, the man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. Well, that's a good one. And then asking Richard Thomas for his personal favorite. Again, apologize. That would have been a great question when we recorded it on Friday. I think it was. But happy to have you here in New York and a great day to you both. Yes, I did tell him it was good to have him coming to the area. So I did kind of do that one, Karen. But thank you. And I'll read that quote again in the 7 o'clock hour. That's when we'll be talking with Richard Thomas as well in the 7 o'clock hour. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. I see Sheriff Allard has said he will work with ICE. So Steuben County is working with ICE. That's awesome. Yes, we are actually talking with the sheriff on the broadcast tomorrow. Sheriff Jim Allard will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. So if you have any questions, we're going to find out more about this work with ICE. We've talked about it for a long time with the sheriff. So it'll be interesting to get that update. We look forward to it, as always, having Sheriff Allard on. That one is not pre-recorded. That one is live. So if you have any questions for the sheriff, please, by all means, get those to me when is best for you. Continuing, Mark says YouTube is going to pay Trump $24.5 million for his suspension on their site, and Trump and Netanyahu have a plan to end the war if Hamas accepts it. We are going to talk about all of those. You're exactly right, Mark. Those are the big stories of the day, both locally, nationally, and internationally. First, according to the Daily Mail out of the United Kingdom, so take it with a grain of salt. They play a little fast and loose sometimes. But flight trackers have spotted a fleet of U.S. air tankers crossing the Atlantic just as Donald Trump prepares to meet with generals and admirals today. That meeting is today. Pete Hegseth's secret meeting that they've tried to put all types of nefarious reasons behind it. I'm not going to get into specifically what is being sent over because I don't think it, not common knowledge what these would be. The presence of air tankers can indicate that the U.S. or NATO is addressing an urgent military requirement for fighter jets' refueling capacity. The deployment carries ominous weight, according to 3 Defense Department sources, 2 former, 1 current, who spoke to the Daily Mail on, you guessed it, condition of anonymity. The last time the U.S. moved tankers in comparable numbers was 5 days before American warplanes struck Iran's nuclear facilities. Trump met with Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday at the White House. The movement of the Stratotankers comes as Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth are preparing to hold a shadowy, says the Daily Mail, shadowy meeting of the nation's top military leaders in Virginia today. The unprecedented meeting, first reported by the Washington Post last week, has raised alarms. Hundreds of generals and admirals, including those in active conflict zones, have been summoned from around the world with no details of what will be discussed at the summit. Just something to keep in mind. Some breaking news this morning. Mark had mentioned this. YouTube is going to pay $24.5 million to settle Trump's lawsuit. And that was a lawsuit that President Trump brought over his being banned from an account or suspended from an account. But the money, we know that when the media pays, it very often seems that the money is going to the Trump Presidential Library, which there's an irony in that I find so beautiful. The people that have tried to bring him down since day one are now paying for his presidential library. But in this case, the bulk of the money will go towards the construction of the new White House ballroom. Trump sued the Alphabet-owned video sharing platform YouTube in July of 2021, alleging that YouTube unlawfully silenced conservative viewpoints after the company suspended his account in the wake of the January 6, 2021 riot at the Capitol. The Trust for the National Mall, the nonprofit group raising private donations to build the $200 million ballroom on the White House grounds, will be paid $22 million by the tech company as part of their settlement, a part of their agreement. The remainder of the money will go to the plaintiffs in the case, including the American Conservative Union. Trump announced plans for the privately funded 90,000 square foot White House State Ballroom back in July. The ballroom will be situated in the East Wing and will be able to fit 650 people. Construction is expected to be completed before Trump's term ends in early 2029. YouTube was the last of the major social media companies sued by Trump over Capitol riot-related bans to settle. Meta and X settled similar lawsuits brought by the president earlier this year to the tune of $25 million and $10 million, respectively. Trump was banned from YouTube for nearly 2 years in the aftermath of the riot. The video streaming service suspended Trump's account on January 12, 2021, and reinstated it on March 17, 2023, several months after he launched his 2024 presidential campaign, when they knew that they would get a lot of views and a lot of likes from what he shared. YouTube's Vice President of Public Policy, Leslie Miller, said, "We carefully evaluated the continued risk of real-world violence, balancing that with the importance of preserving the opportunity for voters to hear equally from major national candidates in the run-up to the election." That was a statement at the time. YouTube did not release a statement on this settlement. So there you are, $24.5 million being awarded to Trump from that lawsuit. Another major update, the media was touting the huge ratings of Jimmy Kimmel. That when he came back after his suspension, whatever you want to call it, the long weekend, and it comes as no surprise, his ratings skyrocketed. People wanted to see what he'd have to say. Would he apologize to Charlie Kirk's family, which of course he did not. He went on to blame no political party. So he went from blaming MAGA Republicans to saying it's not a political issue. Interesting how that works. Well, reality has now hit, and he returns to his low ratings. Jimmy Kimmel's rating spike was short-lived. The viewers have not stuck around after that first broadcast back. On Thursday, Jimmy Kimmel averaged 2.3 million total viewers. 2.3 million. That's a staggering 64% drop from the 6.5 million who tuned in for Tuesday's much-hyped return. Kimmel shed even more viewers in the advertiser-coveted demographic of adults aged 25 to 54, with Thursday's episode hemorrhaging 73% of viewers from that critical category. Jimmy Kimmel Live pulled in 1.7 million viewers among the key demographic for Tuesday's return, but plummeted to 465,000 a mere 48 hours later. Jimmy Kimmel Live also lost significant viewers in the younger demographic of adults aged 18 to 49, managing 1.2 million on Tuesday, but quickly losing 73% to settle for only 334,000 on Thursday. So, again, it's why when you look at it, at the end of the day, it is really Gutfeld that is the king of late night. But this should come as no surprise, just like the rating spike should have come as no surprise. I'm not suggesting at all it was a ploy or some type of PR move to attempt to get the ratings up. I don't think it was that, because I think anybody that saw it would know that it wouldn't have long-term lasting effects. But you knew, I mean, I knew Republicans, I knew conservatives who were saying, well, I'm going to watch it, just see what he has to say. Those type of things at the end of the day help him in ratings. But it was short-term as, and I quote there, the New York Post, his ratings come to a screeching halt. And just because we're talking the media and the bias in the media, and I do have a couple other updates that I think you're going to find very interesting. But I saw a headline, something to the extent of, is Trump keeping his promises? Supporters don't think so. So I said, what is this going to be, a poll where now Republicans are supposedly turning on Trump? Because we had, I read almost, well, at least once a week on this program, but sometimes more than once a week, where they'll say, has MAGA turned against Trump? And I always ask you the question, do you believe that Trump supporters have turned on Trump? And you've probably heard me ask that question numerous times. So it was from the Washington Post, and it piqued my interest, and I clicked on it, and it wasn't as if they had polling or if they had some type of large swath of the country who supported Trump, had Trump flags in their yard, and now completely disavowing him and I guess going to Harris. No, it wasn't that at all. The Washington Post took time out of their day and precious print to ask one MAGA couple who doesn't think he's keeping his promises. This, to the Washington Post and Hannah Knowles, who wrote it, this was worth doing the research, going to do the interview, and making it a major headline that two people in a country that overwhelmingly voted for Trump, a landslide victory, that two people believe that he hasn't delivered on his promises. It's out of Georgia. Jessie Meadows told her mother-in-law not to panic when business slowed at the family floral shop last year. They just needed to hold on a little longer until Donald Trump got back in office. She's still waiting for the turnaround. So the anger here, whether it's through this couple or whether it's through the media, that Trump in his, 9-10 months hasn't been able to undo the damage of 4 years of outrageous spending, outrageous deficits of the Biden administration. So, and this is something that I do find fascinating, especially it's not just Trump, it's when Republicans take over. Everything has to be done overnight. Everything has to be fixed instantly. All the damage done by the Democrat president. And that's what apparently they're saying here, because they're admitting right in the first sentence that it was during the Biden administration that they were struggling. And now, a few months later, it has not completely turned around for them. The phone that used to ring all day during Trump's first term sits mostly quiet. Customers are still reluctant to spend on an extra, such as flowers, in her corner of small-town Georgia. A box of faux berries from China recently arrived at the shop with a note explaining that they cost 17% more because of Trump's tariffs. Trump campaigned on grand promises, cut energy costs in half, immediately bring prices down, drain the swamp, etc., etc. Now Meadows was starting to question the president's ability to keep his word, and not just on the economy. She didn't like his dismissive attitude toward MAGA Republicans who wanted to see the government's full files on Jeffrey Epstein after Trump said last year that he was inclined to release information on Epstein. Carter Meadows, Jessie's husband, said, is there anybody that could go up there and stay what they ran on? So now Trump's not, according to this one couple in the whole country, this one couple, he is not making good on his promises. So I would ask you, because the Washington Post found it worthy to go to Georgia and ask one couple who supported Trump that are now not completely happy a few short months later with Trump. That is newsworthy. These people are now apparently newsworthy to the Washington Post. You see the cherry picking that the media can so easily do. Of course, you would not see this during a Biden administration. You would not see, Biden couple don't believe he's keeping his promises. You would never see that. It's just so nonsensical that this is, I want to say it's 8-9 pages on this one couple. And of course, they focus on Epstein because they believe that is a winning issue, and they have for quite some time. Jessie said she planned to oppose her local congressman in next year's GOP primary, upset by his stance on the Epstein files, and she wasn't sure she could trust Trump's Vice President J.D. Vance, who many believe will run to succeed Trump. This because Republicans have been pretty unified lately. So this is the media needing to have a maverick, have a John McCain-esque character, which is someone who allegedly voted for Trump, a couple. Find them and make sure that they badmouth Trump the whole time. It's not shocking because it's so common and it's so laughable. But that is the mainstream media, and they wonder why they have lost all credibility. That the Washington Post sent a reporter out to Georgia to interview one couple who says they're not happy with the Trump administration. And that, my friends, is newsworthy because it gives them an opportunity to attack Trump, attack his supporters, and unfortunately, and I'm sure they're a very nice couple, but embarrass this couple. We've got some other updates. I'm running late already. And I know that was one I wanted to make sure I brought to you for whatever reason. I got my blood boiling a little bit this morning, but luckily we're going to have kind of a calming factor on the program this morning because we're going to be talking to Richard Thomas from the Waltons, and he's going to be in our area October 14th and 15th with Mark Twain tonight at the Clemens Center. So that'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. A lot of waves, comments coming in. Keep them coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Come explore the magic of Knapp Winery. It's the perfect fusion of wine, food, and panoramic views. This charming destination will delight every palate with a curated wine flight, wine by the glass, or your favorite bottle to share. Some special finds to try are Knapp's iced wine, dry rosé, and Saperavi. While soaking in the view, you may want to enjoy a brunch, lunch, or dinner at the on-site restaurant. Book your experience at Knapp Winery today.
This is a Collector Consumer Alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox. The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A comment from a viewer. Jimmy who? Yes. It sounds like you have the same mindset as many of the people who tuned in Tuesday and now no longer tune in, and that's in reference to Jimmy Kimmel. Hey, this is just a quick update that I wanted to bring to you. You may recall I had brought to you the story about a far-left gun club that was on college campuses, and they were handing out flyers that essentially were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk in a way, or using the death of Charlie Kirk to push their radical left agenda. Well, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill has placed a professor who is a member of a far-left gun club on administrative leave. Quote, the University of North Carolina has informed Dr. Dwayne Dixon, professor of Asian and Middle Eastern Studies, that he has been placed on administrative leave, effective immediately, following recent reports and expression of concern regarding alleged advocacy of politically motivated violence. Placing Mr. Dixon on leave will allow the university to investigate these allegations in a manner that protects the integrity of its assessment. Depending upon the nature and circumstances of this activity, this conduct could be grounds for disciplinary action up to and including potential termination of employment, according to the standards set forth in the trustee policies and regulations governing academic tenure in the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and pursuant to UNC practice. Now, yes, there is tenure. And what's interesting about that, if you recall, in Naples, New York, this was not a college, but a high school teacher has been, well, actually resigned because he was very arrogant in his posts against Charlie Kirk. And then the second one saying, you can't do anything, you can't touch me, I've got tenure. He found out the hard way that there can be pressure put on you. The same could be very much happening in this case. At this time, the university continued, the total length of the administrative leave has not been determined, as it will depend on the time needed to thoroughly assess the allegations and investigation if needed. The university continues to reaffirm its commitment to rigorous debate, respectful engagement, and open dialogue in support of free speech. There is no place for or tolerance of inciting or extending sympathy toward violence of any kind within the UNC community. Now, Dixon is an Asian and Middle Eastern Studies professor at the university, according to his biography page. He's also a self-professed member of Redneck Revolt's Silver Valley chapter. Redneck Revolt is a gun club described by the Counter Extremist Project as a far-left group that, quote, stands against capitalism and the concept of the nation state, including its symbols such as police, prison, and courts. In 2017, Dixon rallied with other far-left demonstrators in Durham, North Carolina. The rally was billed as an anti-KKK event, but the KKK was not there. Dixon was armed that day, accused of helping block public roadways, quote, while armed with a semi-automatic weapon, rifle, capable of firing multiple shots within seconds, which upon observance by members of the public caused alarm and concerns for safety. He was charged with having a weapon at a public assembly or rally and going armed to the terror of people, both misdemeanors. Those charges were eventually dropped. I'm not going to go through his whole history because there is quite a lengthy, what would you call it, not protest, as agitator. But what this boils down to is that Redneck Revolt is an offshoot of the John Brown Gun Club, which recently made headlines for posting recruiting flyers at Georgetown University that celebrated the assassination of conservative commentator and Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. The flyers said, "Hey, fascist, catch this," which is a nod to the writing that was allegedly written on bullet casings by Tyler Robinson, the suspect in Kirk's assassination. Quote, the only political group that celebrates when Nazis die, the advertisement said. A QR code on the flyer led to a page that read, "We're building a community that's done with ceremonial resistance," and strongly worded letters. If you want to make a real change in your community, let us know below. So that's just an update on somewhat of a story that we brought to you last week or perhaps the week before. So there are some changes, hopefully in the right direction when it comes to what's happening on college campuses and universities and even in public education. If you... All right, we're going to talk about Gaza and Israel here in just a little bit. We also have a lot of New York State updates. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano is back from his energy tour throughout the state, so we'll hear what he had to say, not in person. We'll hear what he had to say in his newsletter about the tour. And we have quite a few other New York updates. Your thoughts on Curtis Sliwa, He's not backing down. He's saying he's going to stay in it. I know there's a lot of pressure for him to leave the race. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Cuomo, Mamdani, and some other kind of Democrat issues when it comes to Mamdani and what they're dealing with the AOC kind of wing of their party. So all that, much more. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Dear crew, with an adult-sized third row, everyone's welcome. From sports fans and eco buffs to movie fans. Slip in, stretch out, and let's go. Toyota.
Right now, you can lease RAV4, the #1 selling vehicle in America, for just $299 a month. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
As always, we thank our friends at Boss Security in Horseheads for bringing us that beautiful view of historic Market Street in the heart of the Gafford District. Contact Boss Security today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I want to bring this story to you before we talk about Israel. If you had not seen this, I watched it this morning on the New York Post. I'm sure you can find it elsewhere. But the distraught father of a 22-year-old aspiring teacher who was murdered by a career criminal while visiting friends at the University of South Carolina, he scolded lawmakers on Monday. Stephen Federico delivered a raw, gut-wrenching address during a congressional hearing in Charlotte aimed at tackling growing concerns over violent crime and repeat offenders, speaking just weeks after the high-profile murder of Ukrainian national Irina Zarutska. Tension was already high. Get this. Tension was already high before the grief-stricken father addressed the committee because Democratic North Carolina Representative Deborah Ross mistakenly pointed to a photo of his daughter, identifying the photo as Zarutska. "This is my daughter, okay?" he yelled at Ross. "This is Logan Federico. How dare you not know her?" Now, Ross repeatedly apologized for the mistake, but you're off to a bad start if you're Ross on that. "How many of y'all have kids?" the grieving father sternly asked the committee. "Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your child." His daughter, Logan Federico, was fatally shot on May 3rd while visiting friends at USC in Columbia, South Carolina, after 30-year-old career criminal Alexander Dickey broke into the Cypress Street home. This is what he said. "Think about your child coming home from a night out with friends, lying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come into the room and wake them, and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, me, that couldn't be there. as he fought back tears and anger. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds, and bang, he shouted at the members of the committee. Dead, gone. Why? Because Alexander Dickey, who was arrested 39, I can't say it, blanking times, 25 felonies, was on the street. Wow. He blasted the justice system for its failure to protect not only his daughter, but also countless others. He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he has committed. Listen to these numbers, by the way. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old. But nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you don't have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no. I will fight until my last breath for my daughter. I'm not going to be quiet until somebody helps. Logan deserves to be heard. Everybody on this panel deserves to be heard, and we will. Trust me. You have the power. We put you in power to do what you have to do. We're asking you, we're begging you all to stop this. Those numbers... This is an epidemic throughout our country. The idea of coddling criminals. We see it here in New York State with bail reform, raise the age, etc. I'm not going to go through the guy's whole history here. You heard the numbers. Dickey is now charged with murder, 2 counts of first-degree burglary, 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, possession of a weapon by a convicted felon, 2 counts of grand larceny on a motor vehicle, and 3 counts of financial transaction card theft. He faces life in prison for the charges filed against him. Now, Phil Mickelson, the golf star, the golf legend, called out the justice system after seeing this emotional speech. Mickelson saw the testimony of Stephen Federico at the House Judiciary Subcommittee meeting Monday in Charlotte, North Carolina. Mickelson was clearly moved, posting on Twitter, "The judges who let this person go should be held accountable and in jail." That's exactly right. That's the same that was said about Zaruska's killer. The judges that continue to coddle the criminals and let them go back on the street to make more victims. Remember, this is a victim that should not have been a victim. Unbelievable. So good for Phil Mickelson for highlighting this and bringing that information to people who may not have seen that hearing. I would highly recommend, if you have a chance, to watch it. It's tough, but so important. So yesterday, the big news, Trump unveils the 20-point Gaza ceasefire plan. I received the email. I can read them to you if you want, but I think you saw the speech by the president at that joint conference with Benjamin Netanyahu. He unveiled the 20-point peace plan, calling for an international peacekeeping force in Gaza Strip and a post-Hamas transitional government overseen by a board of peace that Trump himself would lead as chairman. He announced the plan alongside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House and said it would bring eternal peace in the Middle East, with 8 Muslim-majority countries and the West Bank-based Palestinian Authority quickly joining Israel and embracing the blueprint. Quote, "This is a beautiful day, potentially one of the great days ever in civilization," Trump told reporters. "We discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East. And let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East." The governments of Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates issued a rare joint statement praising the framework. The nations said they, quote, "welcome President Donald J. Trump's leadership and his sincere effort to end the war in Gaza, and affirm their readiness to engage positively and constructively with the United States and the parties toward finalizing the agreement and ensuring its implementation." The Palestinian Authorities, which rules part of the West Bank and lost well, we don't have to go through all this. Give the whole history here. Now, Netanyahu confirmed that his government has agreed to the provisions, adding that Israel would finish the war and end Hamas's rule of Gaza the easy way or the hard way. And Trump said something to the extent of, you're going to have to do what you have to do. The document released by the White House states that if all parties agree, Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committees responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public services and municipalities for the people in Gaza. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body called the Board of Peace, which will be headed and chaired by President Donald J. Trump, with other members and heads of state to be announced. The only potential member Trump announced by name was former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, who released a statement calling the plan bold and intelligent. Your thoughts on this plan? He said this is the president, the force would immediately deploy in Gaza and bring control and stability to the battle-torn region, including patrolling its borders and training police. My plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace. We call it the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name. Working with the World Bank and others, it will be responsible for recruiting and training a new government that will be made up of Palestinians, along with highly qualified experts from all around the world. Hamas and other terrorist factions will play no role in the board, and they will play no role in the governance of Gaza at all, directly or indirectly. So there you are. Again, Trump's warning Israel will finish the job if Hamas objects to this. Tony Blair, an interesting addition to that peace board. Trump calling him a good man, a very good man. So he'll be on the Board of Peace, Tony Blair. Now, we have a couple of comments on this, a couple other quick things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Obviously, this is an issue that many people, many presidents have dealt with for quite some time. Peace in the Middle East. We'd love to hear your thoughts. There's a couple of quick things on this. Then we do have to, I know we haven't even mentioned it this morning, the government shutdown, the looming government shutdown. Does it look, I don't think there's any way, even if they came to agreement, that they could get it done before midnight tonight. That is the deadline. So at 11:59, if no agreement is reached, we begin a government shutdown. Your thoughts on that? Reading some comments when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Your tap water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants, it's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
When you're running, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
An Albany buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition. Severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State. Dante Brown, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. If you are just joining us, coming up in the next hour, Richard Thomas. Best known, perhaps. Oh, he has an amazing career, actually. I shouldn't say best known, but Everybody watched the Waltons at one point in their life. So John Boy Walton. Richard Thomas will be joining us in the next hour. So we... All right, let's look at some of the comments. We got a lot of comments coming in. So a lot of criticism this morning, and I didn't bring it up because it almost seems so pop culture to me. But Bad Bunny being announced as the halftime performer during the Super Bowl. This viewer says the NFL won't let the country heal; they just want controversy. Well, and they bring up specifically that he does performance in drag and these type of things. Also been very outspoken critic against President Trump. Protest this move, bring sanity back to the halftime show. It just seems like this will be, is always a common trend. They'll get a performer that does have some type of political background to them. In this case, someone that's been hypercritical of President Trump. And I have heard, especially in conservative circles, a lot of outrage over this. I didn't have it in my stack of stuff because it was so... Not that pop culture is a bad thing. Andrew Breitbart had that great line that, how was it that politics is downstream from pop culture? Just something that was because of Gaza and the like. I didn't have in my stack, but thank you for highlighting that, so I could bring it up. I know many people are outraged over that pick. What are your thoughts? Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. I'm curious about the inflation tax rebate. I really would like to know if the idiots realize that they are not receiving anything that they have not already sent in taxes. Well, I'm not going to call the people idiots. I don't think they are, but that's what Governor Hochul is banking on. She's hoping that you go, wow. Because keep in mind, when you get the check, I would bet my check that it'll be signed by Governor Hochul or have her name on the envelope or something like that. She wants credit for it as she runs up to a re-election year next year. So she's hoping that you get that and go, oh, Governor Hochul sent me $200. No strings attached, or if your family, $400, saying, wow, wonderful, thank you so much. Yeah, so she's hoping. I don't believe the American people or the people of New York in all instances aren't informed, but I think she's hoping for the ones that aren't. A comment from a different viewer: how can anyone called Bad Bunny be taken seriously? Fair point. Thank you for that. I'm not familiar with his music. I don't really know any. Maybe I've heard it, at a store one time playing in the background. Just not familiar. That's not a knock on the music. If you like it, just not kind of on my radar. Comment from a different viewer regarding the shutdown. I don't know how Schumer and Jeffries can say that the Republicans would be responsible for the shutdown with a straight face. Are they kidding? It's a story as old as time. The Democrats do that no matter what. We know it is 100%. Oh, and I saw how the news can manipulate it. I'm not going to say what outlet I was watching, but they're saying, well, and Republicans who control the House and the Senate are blaming Democrats. That is hoping, going back to what the viewer said about the inflation rebate checks, hoping that you're not paying attention, hoping that you don't realize that you have to break the 60 vote because of the filibuster. So they're hoping that you're not paying attention and you could put all the blame on Republicans. It was very despicable when I heard it because it was said in such passing as, well, as you know, it's Republicans' fault, when it's not. That's the media's tried and true method. They've been doing it forever with government shutdowns. This one, it's not sticking. This is one where you have to, and I believe the media is still going to try, but I think a lot of people are seeing that, no, this is Schumer, this is Jeffries, a deal could be made. The Republicans are offering a clean spending bill, just completely clean. Here it is, keep the government open for a couple more weeks till we get a better plan in. And they're saying, no, we need, what was it, something like $1 trillion more in spending. So I just don't think it's working this way, but you might have watched it. Again, I'm not going to say what outlet it was. I'm not going to say, I will say it was local, but I was shocked that they're trying to blame Republicans, hoping that you don't know that the vote has to get to 60. They're hoping that you start thinking, well, it's the Republicans and they're infighting again. They just can't come to a deal. It's chaos. Very disingenuous is, I'll put that to be polite. How about that? Wow, a lot of comments coming in. Keep them going. But yes, back to the other comment. I kind of glanced over it so quick. The inflation rebate checks, really, Hochul is trying to buy votes. I mean, it's again, I don't want to sound greedy. I'll take $200 because, as that viewer said, it's our money anyway. I'll take it. But after I read her speech yesterday, you would think that this was going to, I don't know, pay off your car, pay off your mortgage. $200, is that even going to pick up your groceries? It's not going to pick up your groceries and fill your tank. I mean, again, I'm going to take it. Like a lot of people are going to do. Donate it to Elise Stefanik's campaign. So I'm not going to rip up the check, but I do find it's just a vote-getting scheme. And you know and I know it, and that's why I appreciate your comment. All right, Zoran Mamadani. I got to take a break already, and I'm going to read your comments when we come back. Zoran Mamadani, who we'll be talking about a little bit later on in the broadcast, he refused, as we're talking about Gaza here and we're talking about Israel, he refused to denounce Hamas after he was asked to back Benjamin Netanyahu's vow to wipe out the terrorist organization and secure the release of all remaining hostages. Mamadani stopped short of condemning the militant group after Netanyahu used his defiant address to the UN to declare that Israel must finish the job in its war against Hamas. The mayoral nominee saying, quote, "I'm not going to echo the words of Benjamin Netanyahu. I can, however, share my own words and say them right here, which is that my politics is built on a universality." A universality? I can think of no better illustration of that than from the words of the hostage families themselves, everyone for everyone. What has been so infuriating to me and so many New Yorkers, frankly, is Benjamin Netanyahu's use of the hostages as a justification to continue a war that has only continued to endanger the lives of those very hostages, as well as so many Palestinians. So again, we know that he has vowed to arrest Netanyahu if he is mayor, if Netanyahu steps foot in New York City, which is a lot of bluster, of course. But in this case, refusing, Zoran Mamadani, the front runner in the mayoral race in New York City, refusing to condemn Hamas. So keep that in mind. Taking a short break. Reading your comments when we come back. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
It's a brand new 2025 Hyundai Tucson SEL all-wheel drive featuring power liftgate and heated seats. No money down for only $369 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Hyundai in Big Flats.
To get clean! Yes, but that liquid detergent leaves you covered in harsh chemical residue. Not Earth Breeze. Just one sheet gives you a powerful clean.
Switch now at earthbreeze.com.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Thank you to Boss Security and Horseheads for bringing us the Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're moving fast this morning. A couple comments from viewers. New York State is broke and Hochul plays games. That's exactly all it is. That speech that I read to you yesterday, or her statement on the rebate, or the, not rebate, inflation rebate checks. Is that what it's called? I've heard it called a different thing, but I think it's inflation rebate checks or something like that. It is just a game to Hochul. But a comment from a different viewer kind of puts a little bit more onto it, saying, Hochul rebate better be saved for the tax increases that are coming. You're right. Oh, yes. Mamadani's speech, from a different viewer, Mamadani's speech sounded like a bunch of nonsensical political gobbledygook. Yes, he is being compared in numerous circles to Kamala Harris. I've got an example of this later on. To Kamala Harris's word salad, that a lot of his speeches, because he's specifically having trouble with is apologizing for his past statements about the police and calling for the defunding of the police and calling them racist, these type of things. He doesn't want to upset the Democrat Socialists of America. And the Democrat Socialists of America are very thin-skinned, we'll put it that way, politically. So if any, and this isn't just him, AOC has been called out on certain things, you have to be 100% in adherence to the DSA, or they will release a statement, they will unendorse you, these type of things. So he doesn't want to anger the Democrat Socialists of America, so he doesn't know how exactly to apologize to the NYPD. It's kind of interesting, but it's turning into word salads, much like Kamala Harris. Yes, and a good point from this viewer. Hamas is more than a militant group. Their savagery is equaled by the actions of those in the Congo. I think the outlet said militant group, and I would agree with you. I think that really plays down the terrorist aspect to it. So thank you. Wow, look at all these waves and comments coming in. You guys are chatty this morning. You're excited about Richard Thomas from the Waltons coming on the program, aren't you? How about this for a headline from Stephen Collinson? Trump must learn from failures in Ukraine if new Middle East plan is to succeed. If you read between the lines, again, it's Stephen Collinson from CNN, they don't really want success because that success would be Trump's. So they're already trying to tell you how it's going to be a failure. Trump's new plan does appear to be the administration's most substantive, thoughtful, and broadly supported effort to end the Gaza war yet. If fully implemented, it in theory offers the promise of a future for Palestinians in the Strip. If it takes hold, it might create space for a process to mediate the Israel-Palestinian conflict. It's certainly more realistic than Trump's previous wild version of a Riviera of the Middle East, arising from the rubble of Israel's onslaught, and its step-by-step approach likely to last many months acknowledge that such a vicious conflict can't be ended by the kind of shallow art-of-the-deal trade-offs in which Trump dealt as a real estate mogul. I'm not going to go through any more of this, but you get the idea. There's been other peace plans before, he says, just trying to downplay really any work being done on this. We have, again, wrapping it up, the former British Prime Minister... I'm not going to go. I've told you enough about what Stephen Collinson had to say. There is, if you have a moment, if you have some free time, at the New York Post, Charlie Kirk actually wrote a letter to Benjamin Netanyahu not that long ago, where he talked about his deep love for Israel and how to counter the rising opposition to the Jewish state here in the United States, this rise of anti-Semitism on college campuses. This is at the New York Post. You can read the whole letter, but it was to counter anti-Israel sentiment among Gen Z and win the information war being waged against the Jewish state. Kirk wrote back in May that he was alarmed by anti-Israel and anti-Semitic trends hitting record levels on social media, since one of the greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews in the fight to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. My team and I have spent months analyzing these trends and debating ideas that could help you and your country push back against these disturbing developments. Anti-Israel sentiment can undermine American support for Israel. The purpose of this letter is to lay out our concerns and outline potential remedies. Everything written here is from a place of deep love for Israel and the Jewish people. It is a fascinating look in, because Charlie Kirk was a defender. I know some were trying to suggest that he was almost, it's really weird, saying some on the far right were saying that he was too supportive of Israel, which I don't quite understand that. So this was him kind of telling Benjamin Netanyahu what he would do to get that sentiment and the anti-Semitic sentiment out of the college campuses, out of pop culture. I think it's important to be brutally honest with those you love. In my opinion, Israel is losing the information war and needs a communication intervention, he said at the time. Again, find that. I got to take a break because we got to wrap up. Amazing letter from Charlie Kirk, wrote it back in May. to Benjamin Netanyahu at the New York Post. It's an exclusive at the Post. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend it. Let's take a break. Then we're going to come back, read your comments, and wrap up hour number 1.
Want to read about ancient wonders? Go to your local library today.
But this isn't your father's library. It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer or face off a dragon in the D&D club. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Create with the 3D printer or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
This is a Collector Consumer Alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
Thank you again to Boss Security and Horseheads for bringing us that beautiful view of historic Market Street. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Frank, isn't it amazing how much sheeple are looking for a world like that in the movie Demolition Man? The citizens blindly follow the politically correct. Thank you for that. How about this? Good morning, Frank. Your show should be on the Learning Channel. I now know that Bad Bunny is someone other than the one that Elmer Fudd was looking for. Thank you. Yes, we didn't learn a lot about Bad Bunny today because I don't know a lot about Bad Bunny today, but I appreciate the kind words that we should be on the Learning Channel. That is not the same Bunny. Bugs is not the same performer that will be at halftime. Not familiar. I'm sure he's got a lot of hits. All I know is that there's quite an outrage over Bad Bunny's announcement, or the NFL's announcement that Bad Bunny will be performing at the halftime. So we are out of time for hour number 1. Hard to believe. This is going quick. This is going quicker than the clock as we head towards the government shutdown. What are your thoughts? Any chance there's not a government shutdown? I don't see one. But I guess we don't have 24 hours, but we got a little time, I suppose. So your thoughts on the government shutdown. We have one other thing about Gaza that I want to mention. Then we got to get to New York State issues as well this morning. And coming up in the next hour, Richard Thomas from the Waltons, John Boy Walton. He's going to be at the Clements Center October 14th and 15th, as the one-man show of Mark Twain Tonight, made famous by Hal Holbrook. He is going. Those tickets are on sale now. Keep that in mind. I know you're going to love this interview. Karen, we're going to read her quote at the top of the hour. Karen was kind enough to send in a quote. I read it in the 6 o'clock hour, but I feel so bad because she wanted me to ask Richard Thomas what his favorite Mark Twain quote was, but it was pre-recorded, and I didn't have the smarts to think of a great question like that. So I apologize, but we will reread that quote when we come back. Stay with us. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away.
This isn't your father's library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine rentals. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
You lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan. Water you love.
Drive into fall event at
Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Buy a new in-stock 2025 Ram 1500 Bighorn and save over $10,000. Or, attention business owners, buy a new Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab and save over $11,000. Tailgate season is back. Hurry, these offers won't last. Drive into fall event. Don't miss out on these incredible offers. Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Selling cars a different way, the right way.
Sundays. It's the best 2 hours of NFL coverage, starting with Fox NFL Kickoff at 11.
This is great TV.
It is caught! Then at noon, take it to the next level on Fox NFL Sunday.
This kid has it all.
Touchdown! America's #1 pregame show. The best NFL pregame shows are back to back.
It's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Agam. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. We've covered so much already this morning, so many great comments. We were talking about Bad Bunny, which I never thought would happen. Kristen Fleming said it's a hypocrite. Bad Bunny is a controversial choice for the Super Bowl, but the NFL only sees the dollar signs. As I mentioned, Karen sent in a quote, and it's a great quote. Unfortunately, I did not get this in time to interview when I interviewed Richard Thomas, which is coming up in just a moment. But Karen says, my quote collection would not be complete without several items from the great Mark Twain. My favorite is, and I quote, the man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. That's a great quote. So thank you, Karen. Sorry I couldn't ask your question to Richard Thomas. It's a great question, and I apologize. Don't forget, so we got Richard Thomas coming up in just a little bit. And then on tomorrow's program, Sheriff Jim Allard, so you can get your questions in ahead of time because that is live. All right, comment from a viewer. An illegal alien hired as school superintendent with no work authorization, a final order of removal, and a prior weapons charge. He was previously superintendent in Mill Creek Township, Pennsylvania, and worked in school districts in St. Louis, Baltimore, D.C., and New York City. Who the heck does the due diligence in these schools? Great question. I saw that story as well. I don't have all the information in front of me because there's so many breaking stories this morning. But this was in Iowa. Iowa's largest school district places superintendent arrested by ICE on unpaid leave, according to CNN. The Department of Homeland Security said Ian Roberts, the leader of Des Moines schools, was in the country illegally and had existing weapons possession charges, to that viewer's point. It's the latest arrest as immigration enforcement is ramping up nationwide, as we know all about that. Roberts, who entered the country in 1999 on a student visa, was given a final order of removal by an immigration judge in May of 2024. At the time of his arrest, he was in possession of a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a fixed-blade hunting knife. It's a violation of federal law to own a firearm and ammunition if any individual doesn't have legal status in the U.S. Yes, who does the due diligence? Who does the vetting? Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer, Mark, as a matter of fact, says that great check from Miss Governor Kathy Hochul boils down to 54 cents a day. I bet we pay more than that a day on taxes, and that's on the $200 check. Oh, yeah, we definitely do. That's what I mean. She built it up. I don't know. Does that work out mathematically? I'm not the best at math. But again, to me, she's hyping it up like it's like you're going to take a trip with the family to Disney. It's just overhype. And I think at the end of the day, when that check comes in the mail, it could be one of those disappointments for people where it's like, that's gone before I even cash it. I want to mention this because we had talked about it earlier. President Donald Trump's 20-point peace plan to end the Gaza war, deliver the hostages, remove Hamas from power, ensure security for Israel, and rebuild Gaza is ambitious and welcome, offering a real hope for regional peace and prosperity if Hamas will take it, and maybe even if the terrorists won't. The plan, conceived in concert with a range of regional powers, is equal parts idealistic and practical. And perhaps its most idealistic piece, the proposed Board of Peace, a multinational multi-international, and interagency overseer to shepherd Gaza's post-war progress is the only realistic route out of this ghastly vortex. Arab and Muslim powers are eager for an end to the conflict, and with the decline of Iranian influence, the beginning of a new regional stability. Their buy-in, which Trump has personally sought and received, is necessary for the success of any peace plan. The plan is thoughtful and well-conceived. Cessation of hostilities and the release of all hostages to follow immediately. Israel's military withdrawal, but phased and limited, and even at its fullest, still buttressed by credible security guarantees to ensure that Hamas, quote, ceases to pose a threat to Israel or its own people. Israel will never, can never, again, permit a terror group committed to its elimination to maintain control of neighboring territories. Similar, aid must flow rapidly and massively to feed and rebuild Gaza and the areas liberated from Hamas. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza, while neither a famine nor a genocide, is real and should be abated at once. Hamas is committed to keeping the war going as long as possible, which is why the peace plan will be partially implemented even if the terrorists won't buy in. Board of Peace member nations can replace Israeli forces in Hamas-free zones, while Israel focuses on uprooting Hamas from the areas it won't leave. Failing all else, Trump has given Benjamin Netanyahu permission to, quote, finish the job. What is Netanyahu's strategy? Defeat Hamas, is strategically sound, but tactically tough. Indeed, Netanyahu is already working on point one of the plan to de-radicalize Gaza and make it a terror-free zone, but this end can be achieved conventionally. The war can have no clear end unless and until Hamas either is crushed or genuinely surrenders. We expect this death cult to keep on maximizing Gazan civilian casualties rather than set down its arms and leave. But what a great grand contrast Trump's plan is to the spineless, feckless European leaders who have been recognizing a Palestinian state, end quote, as it meant or changed anything. The blueprint acknowledges the Palestinian aspiration for nationhood, but admits that getting there requires many real steps, from Hamas's exit to radical reform of the woeful Palestinian Authority, a long road, but truly conceivable. Trump says he foresees eternal peace in the Middle East, rising from the implementation of his plan, including an expansion of the Abraham Accords to include even Iran at some point. Netanyahu, meanwhile, may be risking his own premiership by embracing our president's vision, putting his country's interests first as ever, though his enemies never admit that. If this plan has potential flaws, well, the perfect is the enemy of the good. Nearly 2 years after October 7th, Trump's offered a genuine light at the end of the tunnel and the best hope for the Middle East peace. Yeah, all right, I wanted to mention that. I thought that was a good way to kind of encompass it all. So Congress has one more day to avert a shutdown, and as CNN notes, the odds don't look good. Less than 24 hours. Few believe that Democrats are ready to yield. Interesting. That's what I mean. The media has not fully embraced the idea that they are going to blame Republicans for all this, which is interesting to me. But I think it's a bridge too far. I think they realize already lacking so much credibility. Now, as I said, I watched some news, and they tried their hardest to blame it on Republicans, or not necessarily blame it on Republicans, but to confuse you, not to know that they have to get the 60 vote threshold in the Senate, which we don't have 60 Republicans in the Senate. So they were just trying to make it sound like it was Republican infighting. But the bitter stalemate between Republicans and Democrats in recent weeks largely centered around billions of dollars in enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, basically subsidies that came around because of COVID. And now appears likely to result in the first government funding lapse of President Trump's second administration. Any hope for an 11th hour deal was lost yesterday after a high-stakes meeting in the Oval Office. Nothing, no progress, nothing to really come from that. The move by Senate Majority Leader John Thune is intended to maximize pressure on Chuck Schumer, who have so far blocked a plan for a status quo funding bill without commitments to extending the Obamacare subsidies. Schumer, for his part, said the outcome is up to Trump and his GOP leaders. He's always going to try to push that. And in the past, the media would always run with it. They are having a little bit more of a difficult time running with it this time because, again, Republicans have offered, a clean spending bill, saying, no, this is clean. No political maneuvering. We just want this clean to keep it funded until we can come up with something better. Schumer saying this is now in the president's hands. He can avoid a shutdown if he gets the Republican leader to go along with what we want. But Republicans have accused Schumer of holding government funding hostage over their demands and insist any negotiations on those tax credits should not be tied to keeping the government open. Even one of the Senate GOP's biggest advocates for extending those credits, Josh Hawley of Missouri, said he doesn't think Democrats should force the government into a shutdown over the issue. Quote, I don't understand what shutting down government has to do with that. My message to them is like, hey, I will work with you on all of those things. I think there's a lot of common ground, but let's leave the government funding out of it. J.D. Vance says the government is likely headed to a shutdown. I think at this point, I mean, it's inevitable unless something crazy. And I don't see that happening. He said after the meeting, I think we're headed into a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind. If you look at the original they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying the American people want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. Hakeem Jeffries, to his point, said there was a frank and direct discussion with the President of the United States and Republican leaders, but significant and meaningful differences remain. Congress has until midnight, October 1st, to pass a short-term funding extension or continuing resolution to avert a partial government shutdown. The House has already passed a funding extension, but the bill was blocked in the Senate earlier this month. This is where we are at. I don't see a way where there's not a government shutdown because Chuck Schumer has signaled he will not support a 7 or 10-day stopgap to avoid the shutdown. No, we have to do it now. The time is wasting. We have to do it now. We've delayed and delayed and delayed, he said. As Martin Luther King once said, later means never. They don't want to do this. Republican leaders, because they're right-wing, it will divide their party. The right wing hates ACA altogether, the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. Wow. Thank you, by the way. Everybody sending in great comments this morning. I'll get to those when we come back. But we have to get it done, said Schumer. The way to do this is the president, who is really listening to us, tells Republicans to do it. The House bill... Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso said the House bill is going to be on the table, and that's what we're going to vote on. This is clearly going to be a Democrat shutdown driven by Schumer. This is all on the Democrats. They're going to have to decide if they want to vote for what's on the floor or not, and that's what we're going to put on the floor tomorrow night. We're going to read your comments when we come back. Because I got a couple of things on this, and we got to talk about New York State issues, and we're still really, really excited to talk with Richard Thomas here in just a little bit. Richard Thomas, you may know him from the Waltons, but he has an amazing career. He was in Ozarks and just ton of great movies. He's going to be in our area October 14th and 15th at the Clemens Center for Mark Twain tonight, so we're going to find out about that right around 7:20. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're running, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This is a Sue the Collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Tired of paying for high-priced delivery? The Liquor Factory is now offering free delivery. You heard right, free delivery to Oreen, Gang Mills, Painted Post, and Riverside. Corning, you're in luck too. Free delivery with a $25 minimum order. Call store for details. Also, don't forget their 15% case wine discount. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for weekly specials and tastings. The Liquor Factory, 285 South Hamilton Street, Gang Mills. Or call 607-937-WINE. That's 607-937-9463. The Liquor Factory, raising spirits, delivering fun in a bottle.
Time to get clean!
Yes, but that liquid detergent leaves you covered in harsh chemical residue. Not Earth Breeze. Just one sheet gives you a powerful clean.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We'll be talking with Richard Thomas in just a moment. So many comments. I know I missed a couple. I apologize. Running around trying to get everything done. There's so many, and I'm not complaining. This is fantastic. So many comments coming in, so let's get to as many as we possibly can. Typical Democrat move. If they do anything, the first thing is trying to buy it off. Shove money at it. Yes, like we're seeing with the inflation rebate check. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, all. Must we pay income tax on the $200? Probably. I will donate mine to Turning Point USA. Oh, that's a very good idea. Turning Point USA, send your $200 inflation rebate check. Many people are saying they're going to donate directly to Elise Stefanik's gubernatorial campaign in an effort to defeat Hochul. Whatever the case may be. Both very good options. Comment from a different viewer. Chuck Schumer has to consult his imaginary friends before he makes a decision on the shutdown. Yes, that couple, I can't remember their name now. It escapes me. But yes, the couple that he's talked about for years, which are fabricated individuals, but he uses to prove a point. That whole thing kind of went by quickly in the news cycle, but still more research needs to be done on that. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. It's Karen. Hi, Karen. No worries about the quote. Thought it might be pre-recorded. To all the viewers out there, I would quote the governor, but it was too long. Just remember, buy food, not liquor with that check. Yes. What a horrible. That would be the end of any Republican's career, going to a predominantly black church and suggest that you buy food for your kids instead of liquor with your inflation rebate check. That was our governor, Governor Hochul. Unbelievable. Thank you for that reminder, Karen. I just got mad again. Comment from a different viewer. Government shutdown is not going to affect most people. Exactly. It's mainly just a tool to try to show how hard each side of government is working on your behalf to get their way. Same old thing each year. It highlights root differences in the party, the blame game, back and forth. It keeps the division going. Absolutely. I think the one thing I will say about a government shutdown that Democrats definitely don't like is how little it affects your day-to-day life, like that viewer's saying. I don't think they like, and this is one reason why they historically don't like a government shutdown, because you start to realize how much certain parts of government are so unnecessary. Yes, with a media hit on certain issues that are going to hurt you or hurt veterans, or they try to present that message, Social Security, those type of things. They always try to push that message. But what was Trump, when he was in office, what was that, like 39 days or something was with a government shutdown? I remember thinking nothing has changed. In our day-to-day life. Now, I'm not saying there's not people in Washington whose lives have changed. I'm not saying there's some people that work in the federal government that, of course, their life has changed a little bit, and the media will latch onto those stories to paint the most doom and gloom scenario. But I think that viewer's right. It goes to show how much of government, how much of Washington is run by politicians or bureaucrats, I should say, that don't need to be there to keep the government running smoothly. It's just, I don't know. To me, it's going to be a fascinating look, like it always is, where I think most people start to say on both sides, the common everyday person goes to work, tries to pay their bills, these type of things, they end up saying, well, that didn't really affect me all that much. There seems to be a lot of non-essential employees in Washington, is what I'm trying to say. Coming from a different viewer, and this is a great point. I'm struggling, Frank. If I want to be an Amazon driver, I'll have to get a driver's license. But if I want to be a school superintendent, I'll only need a ride to work. And that's in reference to that Iowa superintendent who was here illegally, and when arrested or detained, I should say, had a gun on him, which is not legal, had a knife on him, all of that. Yes, there was apparently no background check. He had worked at numerous school districts. He was he was a superintendent in Iowa. I guess there was no, as someone, and I thought the word was perfect, no one did the due process on the guy. Coming from a different viewer, Immigration and Customs Enforcement has put out a list of the 30 worst elected officials who are agitators on an unhinged crusade to protect illegal aliens, including Democrat Governors Tim Walz of Minnesota, J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, and Gavin Newsom of California. I did see that this morning. I did not have the full list. I don't have it in front of me, I should say, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. Speaker Johnson, before we take a break, House Speaker Mike Johnson released a memo titled Debunking the Democrats' Shutdown Delusion. Republicans have acted responsibly by advancing a clean, nonpartisan 24-page continuing resolution that keeps funding at current levels through November 21st with no partisan policy riders. It averts a government shutdown and ensures essential services and benefits continue uninterrupted for the American people. Meanwhile, Democrats are doubling down on false narratives as a threat of a Democrat-led government shutdown looms. Democrats who once claimed that shutdowns would be, quote, dangerous, disastrous, and self-inflicted harm to seniors, veterans, service members, families, and the economy are now actively trying to force one-over policies completely unrelated to government funding. Tom Cotton said Schumer will shut down. I thought this was an interesting point, too. Schumer will shut down the government because he's, quote, terrified of a primary from AOC. Yeah, because he saw how much backlash he got in the past when the voted to keep the government open. He thought it would be a winning, because it's kind of an old school Democrat way of thinking. He thought it would be a winning mentality. It was not, because now we're in a place that is all about the resistance. Tom Cotton saying Chuck Schumer is shutting down the government because he's terrified of a primary from AOC. His actions are disgraceful. House Republicans are joined by one Democrat, Representative Jared Golden, in passing a bill on September 19th that would have kept the government funded until November 20th, but Senate Democrats blocked it from advancing. Instead, they proposed their own funding bill, demanding an additional $1.4 trillion for far-left projects, including free health care for illegal aliens and funding for, yes, NPR and PBS. Have you noticed that the world hasn't been upended because there is no funding for the NPR and PBS? Remember how bad they said it was going to be for rural Americans? Trump's getting a little hot water because he used an AI-generated video to mock Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. When I say hot water, it's the media's always hypercritical. The faux footage posted by Trump on Truth Social shows Jeffries depicted with a mustache and a sombrero standing silently next to Schumer, who in a fake voice argues in favor of giving illegal aliens free health care as part of an effort to court new voters for the Democrat Party. And a traditional Mexican folk song plays over the 35-second video, for which the White House appears to serve as the backdrop. Schumer and Jeffries slammed it. CNN this morning, I saw, called it a racist meme. If you think your shutdown is a joke, it just proves what we all know. You can't negotiate. You can only throw tantrums, Schumer said in a tone that sounded very much like a tantrum. Bigotry will get you nowhere, Jeffries said. Cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save healthcare. We are not backing down. All right, on that note, coming up next, Richard Thomas from the Waltons, and he's going to be starring in the one-man show Mark Twain Tonight at the Clemens Center October 14th and 15th. He's coming up next, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
It started with a cake of Irish soap. The teacher said, well, each one of you has a cake of Irish soap. See what you can make. And I did a bird. I'm like a farmer that plants the cornfield and can't wait to see the sprouts and the corn come up and then harvest it. I'm sort of like that.
Fall New York State is unforgettable. From breathtaking views in every hue to adventure around every corner. It's the perfect place to get away. But don't just take our word for it. Come and see it for yourself. New York State, everything you love. Plan your next trip at iloveny.com.
We've had so many wonderful memories as a family. Dropping Shelly off at school, I prayed he wouldn't get stuffed in a gym bag. Missy might have been the one in Little League. I'm asking the Lord to watch over my little girl.
Well, while you're at it, ask him for a win. I got money on this.
But Georgie is the one who threw us the real curveball.
I got a girl pregnant.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? We may not be perfect, but to me, we have the perfect family.
The Bix website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and joining us in the virtual Hesselson studio, we have Richard Thomas. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thanks for having me.
So how excited are you for the Mark Twain Tonight coming to Elmira?
I am so excited. I mean, the whole tour has been thrilling. I'm having such a great time bringing this around again. But, you know, Elmira is a Twain pilgrimage site.
It is.
We started in Hartford, which is another, as you probably know, very important location for Twain. But Elmira, that's been a pin on my map ever since I started putting this thing together. And I can't wait to get there.
Well, that's wonderful. What was it that... Well, let me word it this way. How do you prepare for such an iconic role? Because you not only have Mark Twain the man, but you have Hal Holbrook's version of Mark Twain the man. How do you do it?
Well, it's the same as you prepare for any role.
Yeah.
You know, it's a role to play.
Yeah.
You do what you do. You know, you learn the text and you do as much research as possible. In the case of Twain, you know, actors love to do research, and in the case of Twain, it's sort of bottomless. I mean, I've been really completely immersed in him for the better part of the last year.
Wow.
And Hal was inimitable. He was great. I mean, I saw his performance when I was about 16, I think, and it was absolutely wonderful. Sorry for the ding. It was absolutely wonderful. And I knew Hal. You know, we had a very warm collegial relationship, and you know, actors are all different. I can't be him, he can't be me,
Sure.
so I can't worry too much. I mean, I enjoyed studying the stuff on YouTube to sort of see how he maneuvered some of the stuff and the texts. But what he's left to the actor is a wonderful compilation of texts that one can shape and shuffle to one's own desires, which is what he did over time.
Okay.
So it's a very open form and a work in progress, and it's very exciting to do. I mean, I at a certain point, it's just Richard Thomas out there on stage.
Right.
So I like to bring Hal out on one shoulder and Mark on the other.
Perfect. What was it that drew you to this role? Because it is such an iconic role.
Well, what drew me to it was a call from Hal's estate saying that they thought it would be a great time to revive the piece, and they felt that Hal would have approved of me, and I was flattered by that.
Yeah.
And would I be interested in jumping into those shoes? And I said, absolutely. It's a great time to be bringing Twain around again.
Is it difficult for someone that's not an actor, and I'm sure many of our viewers aren't an actor, is it difficult for a one-man play? I mean, this is just you. You're up there alone for the world to see. How does that feel?
Well, it's a different kind of challenge. It's a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's 90 minutes of talk, and that's a lot of text. But I'm pretty good, you know, learner and a pretty quick study. And I did have a good amount of time. I mean, Hal had decades and decades to do it. I didn't have quite, you know,
Yeah.
the only advantage I have over Hal is that I'm actually Twain's age now, when he did this lecture.
Oh, that's great.
Hal started when he was about 30, and he had to put all that old age makeup, but I don't have to do that. But no, it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and you know, I'm just bringing myself out there and my version of the man.
Yeah. The big question is, do you normally smoke cigars in your free time?
I have smoked cigars. I used to smoke cigars and pipes quite a bit.
There you go.
Years and years ago, but I don't anymore and haven't for a long time. But a cigar will be on hand.
Okay, good. You have to keep true to life, right? What does a typical show look like for Mark Twain tonight, which will be at the Clements Center October 14th and 15th?
Well, it's, I'm not only following in Hal's shoes, I'm really following in Twain's shoes, because, Twain was arguably the first stand-up comedian, and certainly not the very first. That might have been Artemus Ward, but certainly the most globally and nationally recognized. And although he wasn't strictly a stand-up comedian in the way they are now, he would take what he called his lectures out on the road all the way across the country and around the globe, and he would talk for about 90 minutes to the audience with reminiscences and tall tales that he'd picked up, and discussion of his travels, political satire, all kinds of stuff. It was really an open book, and he just got out there and made people laugh and made people think. And so a lot of the cities, even some of the theaters I'm playing in, are places where Twain has played.
Yeah.
People know he was a great American writer, but not as many people know he was also a wonderful performer.
Well, and you think of how often he's quoted, and he's one of those people that even if it isn't his quote, he gets credit for. Have you noticed that?
He's not only one of the most quoted Americans, he's one of the most misquoted.
Right. It's really interesting. So when you come to the area, do you check in under the alias Samuel Clemens?
No,
that would be clever.
I don't have an AKA. I'm afraid to kind of do it from way back in the 70s, of course, but no, I'll try it. I'll try it at Elmira.
It won't work. We'll be on to you. Elmira's the wrong place to start that.
Exactly.
So I do have to say, doing my research, congratulations on being a Theater Hall of Fame inductee. That must be amazing.
Oh, thank you. That was a wonderful surprise. I'm very honored that they're going to induct me and the rest of the folks for this year in November in New York, and I'm really thrilled. I mean, I've been, well, what can I say? My stage union card is, I think, 68 years old.
Really?
This year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, darn it, you deserve the Hall of Fame.
What happens when you have no other skills?
Do you find where's your love? Is it stage or is it screen?
Well, I love it all. I've been doing it all my whole life, but I started in the theater, and I was raised really much backstage at the theater because my parents were ballet dancers, and so the theater was really the world. And I say if I'd have to choose which is the most satisfying form for me, it would be theater. I mean, film is a great art and a wonderful craft for an actor, and I've enjoyed it, and I've been very lucky in it, and had a wonderful run there, and I still enjoy it. But theater is kind of the mother art for me, for an actor, so it's where I feel most at home.
Okay, so if you could, this is the tough question. This is when I ask the tough question. You can only keep one. It's your Emmy, it's your Hall of Fame induction coming up soon, or you being a Kentucky Colonel.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a tough one.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's really tough. That Kentucky Colonel thing is very important to me. Not just because of the bourbon involved, but my dad was a son of Kentucky, and my grandparents were Kentuckians, and so that might be the sentimental favorite. Wow. That might have to be in front.
Wow, but I would say that's a pretty impressive resume with those three, right? You can just send those out. I don't think I've interviewed a lot of people, never a Kentucky Colonel. So thank you so much.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I kind of look like a Kentucky Colonel.
When you're right, that's a very good point. But you do have such an extensive resume. And of course, I'm sure so many people ask you about the Waltons. I don't want to focus on that. But I do want to ask you, because our sister station, MeTV, airs it, and it's so popular. Why do you think it's had the lasting power that it has?
It's an amazing thing to me. I can never quite get my head around the fact that over 50 years later, people still come up to me every day and talk about what the show meant for them. Yeah. I suppose it's because it was an honest show about family. Yeah. I mean, that's why it was so popular around the world. I mean, different cultures, different languages, different customs, but family's family. And I think that's exactly what made the show so special. And the fact that we had a real bond, all of us. There was wonderful writing, it was a great cast. And it just speaks to family issues that we can all relate to, I think, even today, when there seems to be so little commonality between Americans.
I know.
That's one thing we can all agree on, I think.
And I think it's because it is so family-oriented and it is so, I don't know, sentimental in a way. People can turn on it at any point in their life, good times, bad times, and it's consistent. It's always there. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I love the show. I'm very proud of it, and we're still all in touch with each other.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Still like a family.
Yeah.
I think not only what you say is true, but also the demographic of that show was it was one of the first shows that every member of the family could sit down and watch, from the youngest kids to the oldest grandparents.
Good point.
And families could get together and watch the show. There was something in it for every age group. Everyone was included. And I think the sort of inclusiveness of the generations was very, very important. So many people come up to me and say, I used to sit with my grandmother or my grandfather and watch that show, and so it was a coming together of the family, which was wonderful. Now everybody's in their room with their own screen watching their own.
Maybe a couple different things. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But the Waltons sort of brought families together for an hour, and that. I mean, other shows did too. The Waltons did in a very big way.
Has it ever been off the air since it ran?
No, it hasn't been off the air. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's wild. And for so many years, like in Germany, it was on twice. It was on twice a day. It was on in English and it was on in German.
Wow.
You should hear me in my German.
It's impeccable. That's wonderful. Now, what's it like for you, because you lived it, when you're away and you turn on the TV and there it is? Do you ever watch it?
I every now and then it comes across the screen. I'm the insomniac's best friend. If you can't sleep at 3 a.m, you turn on the TV. I'll be there somewhere with some rerun of some show. Yeah. What's more interesting to me is one of my kids will get in touch with your friend and say, "I heard your voice. I was making coffee in the morning and I heard your voice in the bedroom. What is he doing in my house?" But it was me on television talking. You're like, why is Dad all of a sudden in my bedroom?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm very proud and grateful that it's still out there.
Yes, and we're going to switch back over here because I know I just have a minute, but we're talking about Mark Twain tonight. Now we were talking about the Waltons. Now we're talking about Mark Twain tonight. I think it speaks volumes to you that you're the first and only actor that's authorized to perform this play. I mean, that kind of level of faith in you must be really kind of humbling.
Well, it was humbling, and it is, and I'm very touched by the offer, that Hal's estate made. I mean, Hal did it right up until maybe about 10 years ago. I think. I don't know when his last performance was, but he was 90 or 91 when he did his last one. Yeah. So he carried it for over 50 years, which is really and not only an extraordinary achievement, I think probably a unique achievement for an actor in one role. And the actuarials really are not in my favor.
Yeah, right.
In terms of matching his record, but I love doing it. I want to do it as long as I can.
So he's the Cal Ripken. You're just trying to play a little catch up. He's the Iron Man, right? Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's Mark Twain tonight at the Clemens Center, coming up October 14th and 15th. Tickets are on sale now. This has been a real pleasure. And can I be as corny as possible and wish you a good night?
Please wish me good night, and I wish you a good night.
Right.
It was a lovely conversation. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. All right, best of luck. Thanks again. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This is a Sue the Collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. the Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Big.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And we thank Richard Thomas for being on the program this morning. Mark Twain tonight, coming to the Clemens Center on October 14th and 15th. That was quite a pleasure talking with Richard Thomas, also known as John Boy Walton. We appreciate it. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? Government shutdown would be great because Trump will be able to bypass Congress with the MAGA agenda. Thank you very much. Yes, he has signaled as much that is his plan. Comment from Ken. He writes in, the Democrats aren't worried about hurting the people with a shutdown. They're worried that if they don't get the wasteful stimulus packages extended, they won't get their end-of-year kickbacks from Big Pharma. Thank you, Ken. Comment from a different viewer. What a great interview. Oh, the interview with Richard Thomas. Thank you. Perfect questions. Should be a great time at the Clemens Center. This was a must stop on his tour since Twain is buried here and the center is his namesake. You're right. You're exactly right. Perfect location. I remember Hal Holbrook came quite a few times as well, if I'm not mistaken. And finally, a different comment from a different viewer. What a great interview. Well, thank you for all the kind words. I do appreciate it. Let's go to some New York State updates. Phil Palmisano wrapping up the energy tour. The final leg of the tour was in Long Island yesterday, where he's joined by many of his Assembly and Senate colleagues. This was the final of 6 scheduled stops across the state. He said in regards to the energy tour, and I'm sure we'll be talking to Phil very soon, but I know this is such an important issue to so many and something we talk about so frequently. This is Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. For years, my colleagues and I have warned that the radical energy climate agenda being pushed by Albany Democrats would make life more expensive for New Yorkers, and now it is finally happening. Under the not-so-watchful eye of Governor Hochul, we have seen energy affordability, reliability, feasibility, and consumer energy choices take a back seat to please the radical Green New Deal advocates. Our Democratic colleagues told us we were simply fear-mongering, but the fact of the matter is we were right all along. The average New Yorker will now continue to pay more per month while sacrificing energy choice, reliability, and risking overwhelming the grid. And the worst part about this, it does nothing to save the environment. New York contributes just 0.4% of global emissions worldwide, while China contributes 30%, has 1,000 coal plants, and is building more every week. In fact, even if we achieved 0% emissions, the effect on the environment would be minuscule. Instead of virtue signaling, Albany Democrats should admit they made a mistake and work to make our energy policy more affordable and reliable for New York families and businesses. The fact of the matter is, even though 60% of New Yorkers heat their homes with natural gas and 40% of our generation comes from natural gas, Governor Hochul and Albany Democrats' energy policies are simply designed to dismantle the affordable and reliable natural gas infrastructure, supply, and delivery system. It is designed to take away consumer choice in how you heat your home, cook your food, power your buildings, and the vehicles you drive. It will jeopardize the reliability of the grid, leading to dangerous and deadly blackouts. And it will continue our nation-leading outmigration of more New York families, farmers, small businesses, and manufacturers leaving our state. So thank you to Assemblyman Phil Palmisano for taking that energy tour on the road to spread the word about these disastrous policies. We appreciate it. We'll make sure to talk to him soon to find out how the whole tour went and get his recap of the fun of the tour. Now, speaking of, because energy policies are obviously driving businesses and families away, as the Assemblyman said, this is very interesting. J.P. Morgan Chase and Company now employs more workers in Texas than in the state of New York. And it's not just the investment giant There are more jobs in the banking sector in the Lone Star State than in New York, once the unrivaled financial services capital of the country and the world, said Catherine Wild, the president and CEO of the Partnership for New York City. Right now, the big challenge is, are we going to remain competitive for jobs? Wild said. The financial services industry, they're our biggest taxpayers and major employers, and that industry is shrinking in New York. That is scary. J.P. Morgan Chase employee total in Texas was 31,500 in 2024, the highest in any state and surpassing New York. Wow. The data provided to the New York Post also showed Texas surpassing the Empire State in financial sector employees overall. Texas had 519,000 employees in that industry, compared with New York's 507,000, according to the numbers. The figure includes employees directly related to banking and finance, while insurance and real estate are excluded. Equally troubling, the financial services sector in New York City shrunk by 8,400 jobs from January through August of this year. So J.P. Morgan Chase now employs more workers in Texas than in New York. Those numbers will continue. The mass exodus will continue if the policies are not changed. That's why so many people have talked about donating their inflation rebate check to at least Stefanik. Now, speaking of the city, Curtis Sliwa is saying he is not going to quit the mayoral race. He does not seem likely to bow out, even though he's received a lot of pressure, even from some of his major donors and supporters. There's no dropping out, he told reporters. Sliwa had drawn one of his bigger crowds of reporters late to the 96th Street subway station, where he took jeers from passerby in stride. Something he's probably used to. But he has signaled he is not going to step down. He even released a new scathing ad saying that New Yorkers are not safe with Zohran Mamdani or Andrew Cuomo as the mayor. The 30-second TV spot released yesterday saying that rapes in broad daylight, attacks on the subway, why? Cuomo, says the ad. The ad then recycles a clip of then-governor touting his support to end the cashless bail system in 2018. Cuomo would later approve a law dramatically curbing cash bail, as you know, the bail reform laws. We're going to end the cashless bail system once and for all, Cuomo said back in 2018. We're going to do it in New York. We're going to do it this year. And he goes on and shows Mamdani as well, saying worse, Zohran Mamdani wants to go even further than Cuomo with criminal-friendly policies. With them in charge, you are not safe. We deserve better, says the ad. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we return. Keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Want to read about ancient wonders? Go to your local library today.
But this isn't your father's library. It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer or face off a dragon in the D&D Club. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine riddles. Create with the 3D printer or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
It's a brand new 2025 Hyundai Tucson SEL all-wheel drive, featuring power liftgate and heated seats. No money down for only $369 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Hyundai in Big Flats.
Time to get clean! Yes, but that liquid detergent leaves you covered in harsh chemical residue. Not Earth Breeze. Just one sheet gives you a powerful clean.
Switch now at earthbreeze.com.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
the Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Some comments came in there. We'll read them at the end of the program, so keep them coming in. The New York Post editorial board asks, can cold Andrew Cuomo warm up and get out of his comfort zone to beat Mamdani? He's been getting just 25% of the votes, according to Real Clear Politics, or voter support, you should say. Why? Because he's got a troubling record and isn't particularly likable. To win in November, he has to win over most of Adams' backers and even some of Curtis Sliwa's, too. A new and improved Cuomo, one truly committed to standing up to the wacky left, might have a chance. What would he have to do? He can start by showing some heretofore uncharacteristic warmth, shed the bully image, and his self-righteous, unapologetic tones. Be nice, be respectful, be humble, be honest, stop blaming the other guy in politics, then lay out some firm policy positions and detail specifically what he'll do to see them through. He should admit the mistakes he made as governor. Now, we don't have any delusion that he will do that, but stop trying to play it safe and show bread and butter New Yorkers you're still one of them and determined to give them a city hall that runs for them the way they know it should. Now, Trump had an interesting take on Mamdani. In a Truth Social post yesterday, President Trump said self-proclaimed New York City communist Zohran Mamdani, who is running for mayor, will prove to be one of the best things to ever happen to our great Republican Party. He is going to have problems with Washington like no mayor in the history of our once great city. Remember, he needs the money from me as president in order to fulfill all of his fake communist promises. He won't be getting any of it. So what's the point of voting for him? This ideology has failed always for thousands of years. It will fail again, and that's guaranteed. President Donald J. Trump. Now, on a completely different note from that, Christine Quinn writes an op-ed for Empire Report. She's a former New York City Council speaker. She says that Governor Hochul's endorsement of Zohran Mamdani proves that Hochul is the leader for this moment. When our democracy and civil liberties are on the line, bold leadership is the only answer. By becoming the highest-ranking statewide elected official to endorse the Democratic nominee for mayor, Governor Hochul is showing herself as a leader who is unafraid to unite the Democrat Party against Trump. In 2024, Democrats saw in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris what happens when Democrats are fractured. This is a recipe for disaster, and it's how Republicans win. Wow. There you are. Showing that she's the leader for this moment, maybe the leader for our times, Governor Hochul. Now, some political strategists across the state said that Hochul's recent endorsement of Mamdani will come back to haunt her throughout next year's tough re-election bid. She's going to have a problem getting reelected, political consultant Hank Scheinkopf told Spectrum. Mamdani right now looks good, but it likely means a very spirited general election for her. Every time Mamdani speaks, he creates another suburban Republican, which is not good news for Kathy Hochul. Winning that election next year without the New York City suburbs or any part of it will be very tough for her. Mamdani will not be popular, likely among the ethnic populations to New York City out-of-bureau people, homeowners who are going to pay new taxes, and others who are going to find their lives very different. So already looking to be, but she was in a rock and a hard place. Does she worry about next November, come next November? Or does she worry about a far-left Democrat Socialist of America primary challenge? And I think she took the let's worry about the primary challenge, and what we'll do is endorse Mamdani so I don't have the primary and just try to get through the general, which will most likely be against Elise Stefanik, though Elise Stefanik is not officially declared. Andrew Cuomo represents sort of the old way of Democrats, of the Democrat Party. Mamdani is the future. I think it's a dark future, Republican strategist Chapin Fay said. Fay said Hochul's endorsement will be easy fodder for a GOP candidate to use against her. Governor Hochul has given Stefanik yet another villain. You have AOC, Mamdani, and Hochul. So you could just picture the ads in the mail in the campaign next year, particularly if Mamdani takes the city in a bad way quickly. That will be all the more fodder for Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's cannon. All right, we're nearly out of time. Let's take our last break, and we'll be back wrapping things up on today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Don't go anywhere.
Want to read about ancient wonders? Go to your local library today.
But this isn't your father's library. It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer or face off a dragon in the D&D Club. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine riddles. Create with the 3D printer or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
In a few words. Urkel, glasses. Nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5:30 on Big Fox.
Is this your mom?
Yes.
And that's your dad?
Nope.
I'm the father.
Even if you're the father, you're lying.
My family does not like my boyfriend.
Solid family.
I've had enough of this. I'm not your mommy.
Now you're just talking crazy.
Don't do that. I'm not your auntie, I'm your mother.
Can't cross mama and come in here and get treated nice. Your case is dismissed and so are you.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea that.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go through some viewer comments. Rick writes in and says the bet lines are open. Shutdown or no shutdown? I say we'll shut down. Shutdown looks pretty much inevitable, I would say. Hamas accepts the latest treaty. I say no, and Israel will continue its destruction and killing innocent Palestinians. Again, always blaming Israel, never Hamas for accepting a peace deal. But okay, if that's what your bet is. Continuing from Rick, is the DOJ more corrupt under Trump than it was under previous administrations? I say more corrupt. It is without a doubt Trump's personal law firm. And finally, is it okay for Trump to threaten cities, businesses, higher education with withholding funding if things don't go his way? I say no. Have a good day, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Ken writes in, a thought from the pit of the scariest things. After Mamdani fixes New York, I bet he wants to extend those repairs to all of New York. I would agree. He may be eyeing a gubernatorial race or something bigger. Who knows? Mark writes in, it was cool to see John Boy Walton again. Have a great day, Frank. Well, thank you very much, Mark. It was cool to see him. But speaking of Mamdani maybe extending his reach, it very much, I think this is an interesting point from the Hill. In 2015, Democrats laughed at Trump. Don't repeat the mistake with AOC today. So the argument is, at the time, Democrats laughed at Trump, saying, oh, this is the best thing that could ever happen to Hillary Clinton and my party. I remember very distinctly. Now they're saying, well, could Republicans fall into that same trap with AOC? Douglas McKinnon, a former White House and Pentagon official, said, my advice to any Republican laughing at the prospect of AOC or any other far-left populist becoming the next Democrat nominee for president, or even becoming president, would be to immediately stop and dedicate a great deal of your time, energy, and money on devising strategies to defeat them come 2026 and 2028. There is a sea change taking place, and the Republican brand is taking on water. I don't agree with that last part. I think there is a change in the Democrat Party, though. I think that's crystal clear. So I don't think it's something you can just constantly laugh at. I think it's something you have to take very seriously. That does it, though, for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you to Richard Thomas for being on the program. We appreciate him giving us some time this morning to talk about Mark Twain tonight at the Clements Center, October 14th and 15th. So really appreciate that. That was a fun interview. On tomorrow's broadcast, a live interview with Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard. So you're not going to want to miss that. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll be back tomorrow morning with Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, I look forward to it already.
Drive into fall event at
Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Buy a new in-stock 2025 Ram 1500 Bighorn and save over $10,000. Or, attention business owners, buy a new Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab and save over $11,000. Tailgate season is back. Hurry, these offers won't last. Drive into fall event. Don't miss out on these incredible offers. Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Selling cars a different way, the right way.